Yeah, we'll show you FTP. Yeah, CDO OCD. Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of The Money Mentor with Graham Home. And today's guest, we were just having a giggle, but we have Steve and Jaime today in the house. Not Jane, as we were just having a giggle and a joke about, but that's a whole private conversation. But welcome. We're continuing with the changing lives financially theme here of real people with real results who happen to send naked photos to each other when they're on holidays. But that's a little bromance thing, right, Jaime? Oh, partially naked.
Yeah, I'm not sending them.
No. Yeah, no. Just us.
Yeah.
But welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. That was an interesting opening, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just to break the ice.
Straight into the nudity.
Straight into the nudity, yeah. Nude ankles.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another private joke. We'll continue on. How are we, guys?
Yeah, good.
Good?
Really good.
So maybe we'll start with, and the whole purpose of these is one, celebrate you guys, let you share your story because you've had an amazing result, amazing outcome. But also if there's just one family that tune in at home that aren't in our community, that aren't a client, that they listen to this and go, I kind of relate to those people. Shit, why aren't I doing that? And that's what we're looking for. Like one people go, I'll go have a crack. I'll read a book, do a podcast, whatever. So maybe we'll start with you guys sharing your pre-infinity story. Like who are you? How was life? How did we get to where we were? What was happening? And then at this year we found you and looked at this because. Maybe we'll start with that.
Perfect.
Am I going? Okay. Well, I guess immediately before Infinity, we had owned our own business. We'd run a motel for about 12 years. We've got 3 daughters. I guess we started our family earlier than a lot of people do these days. I think Jaime was 21 when we had our first. And we had them all by the time you're 26, 27.
25, but that's
25, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Close, mate, close.
It was close.
So they're now adults and grown up, but we had a couple of them living with us when we were still at the motel. So this is about 3 years or so ago.
Did you put them to work?
Oh, absolutely.
They worked from, I think we've always installed in our kids the value of hard work.
Yeah.
And also giving back, which is one of the things that you advocate for, which really aligns with us. So they were stripping beds from like 6, 8 and 10-year-olds.
So they know the value of hard work.
Yeah. I still remember I think she would have been 6 or 7 and she came to me, I must have been in the office, and she said, Mum, are you paying that guy by the hour or is he a fixed rate? Because he's sitting down having a drink. And I was like...
How old was she?
I reckon she was 6. And I was like, oh, wow, like what have I taught her?
Well, he's allowed to have a drink, sweetheart.
Correct.
However...
But she was worried that he wasn't working when he should be working.
Right.
And at 8 years of age, she'd quiz us about superannuation and insurance and all this sort of stuff.
And we've always been really open with our kids about money.
Okay.
And sometimes it's to our detriment. We've been too open, but I think they're all... Well, 3 of them, they're all 20 and above. 2 of them have properties. 1 has 2 properties and 1 has money.
Saved.
Well, she has it with us and I give her some Assuri interest minus the tax.
Yep.
So they understand that hard work. And I think we installed from a really young age property.
Yeah. So they're all either already there or the last one's well on her way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. My parents never owned a house and went bankrupt when I was 12 and I never wanted to put my family in that situation. So at 18, I bought my first house. Okay. Worked 3 jobs, had no life. But without that, I don't think we would be probably where we are today.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to your direct question, I guess, Graham. We were business owners. We went into the business originally as leaseholders, and we were talking just last night about how when we bought the lease, it was just a shade over $1 million, and that was like, fuck, that's a lot of money.
So you bought the lease to run the motel, but not the freehold?
Initially,
just
no.
the leasehold operating on the site.
And then we still had to pay $30,000 a month rent, right? Because all you're buying is the right to operate
run
a
a business
out of the property.
Then you've got to pay rent on the physical
landlord.
site to the landlord.
Yeah, so that was about 30 grand a month.
And we never questioned anything. You don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
And we never questioned anything. And we thought the previous people who we bought the lease from managed to pay the $30,000. We won't ask for a rent review. We'll go in and do the right thing.
You didn't think maybe they're selling because the rent was so high?
Well, they were still making money.
Good money. And their situation was actually they'd had their first child.
Right.
Difficult first child.
Okay.
So we'd approached them like before they had the child and said, are you interested in selling your business?
Yep.
They said no. 6 months later, I got a phone call from Tom. Hey, Steve, are you still looking for a business? Because we're ready to sell. And their circumstances had changed. In we went with a 6, 8 and 10-year-old running a 7-day-a-week business.
And you were still the mayor, so he had a full-time job.
Oh, that's interesting. We'll ask about that in a minute.
Running a motel and 3 young kids, and we thought we could do it.
About 6 years in, we had the opportunity to get the freehold.
The actual building,
yep. Landlord, we did a rent review. The rent went down by about 25%. We'd been paying over the mark for 6 years. But anyway, that and a change in his personal circumstances, and so we picked up the freehold, borrowed up.
The rent review devalued the freehold pretty aggressively,
correct.
right?
Yeah, correct.
And you paid overs all that time. They were pretty lucky.
Yeah, so reality met expectation in terms of the landlord.
Kind of probably met in the middle.
We'd approached him about 2 years before, and it was just there was no way that those two were ever going to meet.
Yep.
The rent review helped to correct that, and so we did a deal. We probably paid a little bit over market for it, but we were comfortable with the business.
We could start paying principal instantly from what we were paying rent to the interest rate.
The debt amount versus the rent amount.
Yeah, and we're structured, properly so that we're our own landlord in effect, but separate entities, all of that sort of stuff. And then we could put some money into the property. It was a 30-year-old property.
Yep.
It hadn't had any serious refurb done to it, so we set off down. And
so the apricot and green tiles come out, I'm assuming, maybe from back in that genre.
The red room of pain left.
The red room. Hang on, what are we talking about here? The red room of pain?
Jamie's got a photographic memory, and she can remember every room and by the tiles and the carpet.
But 60 Shades of Grey had come out, and he had a red room of pain.
Was it the red room?
It was red room of pain.
But
50 Shades of Grey?
60 Shades
50
of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey.
Okay.
But this
out of 10. They got real
this
spicy.
one particular room had a
Room
massive spa which could fit probably 6 people in, and these red tiles all over. It was gross, but that was
a red spa.
That was the red room paint.
Okay.
So anyway, we set about refurbishing and modernising the rooms, which was good, So that gave us a bit more control and direction over our business, and
also revenue, pricing, caliber, review, the whole business overall, right?
The whole lot. Yeah.
Gave it a fresh. Okay.
Yeah. And so that was the next sort of 5 years of life was focused on our business.
Okay. Until
COVID came along, that was like starting over again. I was entirely burnt out. I was fucked. I was done.
Yeah.
Because it was seriously tougher work than when we first came in. And just
to give people, we don't have to get into it, what area, what region are we talking?
Oh, we're in Mount Gambier,
down
South Australia, regional area.
Having to let go of all your staff, I don't.
Well, none of us knew what was going on, right?
No. I don't think it's something. Yeah, it really impacted us emotionally. Our staff were like our family.
Yeah.
And to sit down and tell them to save ourselves, we have to let you go. And at that time, there was no job keeper, and you knew by what you were saying the impact it would have on them. But probably the nicest thing that came out of it, I think it was a Tuesday, we spoke to our staff and said, we're letting you all go. And I think we still had a roadwork crew with us, so we might have had 13 rooms or something, and they were essential at that time. And so no one was going to get paid. But the next day, I think 4 staff turned up and said, we know that you can't pay us, but you can't get through this without us.
Right. Wow.
And if you had asked me which staff do you think
would have done that,
it's not necessarily the ones that I thought.
Wow.
So that was the majority of the staff were really great. They all came back.
Yeah, once the government got the support sorted out, and we realised that it wasn't going. But we'd sat down and gone. Actually, we could see it coming. Because we had a number of we had a strong international trade, right?
Yeah.
So people on packaged holidays, flying into Melbourne on a bus, and they come through Mount Gambier on their way through, and they're coming from Europe and Asia.
Yeah.
But they'd come through Hong Kong. Now Hong Kong shut down
months before,
and Singapore shut down, and so
it's November 2020.
and we're getting these international tour companies cancelling these bookings, and then it's in the media about this.
Yeah, well, I was in
virus
Singapore 2019 that year for New Year's Eve.
Yeah, okay.
And it was people were getting sick then, but it wasn't spoken of in Australia until several months into 2020.
Yeah. So we sort of became aware around about December. Late January, we're like shitting ourselves, and then whatever the day was that it was announced.
It was March 15, and I'll never forget it because there was two things that happened. One was I watched my screen go, and I think we lost over like 1.2 million of forward bookings just
like
disappearing off my screen.
People
it was
just
like
cancelling.
a computer game.
Yeah.
I remember going to the hairdresser and sitting there crying, going, this will be the last time I get my hair done. And then I had a massage, and I probably knew I couldn't afford those two things.
But yeah, they were important.
But they were important on that day because I never thought I would
have them again.
So
we'd sat down and done some sums, and we're going, okay, if we pair it back to just me and Jamie and maybe two other staff, we've got enough money in the bank to get through 18 months. Let's just hope that it doesn't last longer than 18 months. Right. And so we made that decision to let our staff go. And then, a few weeks later, the government announced their package. And so
I think you do need to mention that Stephen did think it was doomsday, and he wanted to...
Oh, yeah, I thought it was going to be zombie apocalypse. I wanted to black out all the windows so that people couldn't see the grog behind the bar.
He wanted to move us into a motel room because he thought
someone
people
broke
would attack
in,
us
would be safe, we had a safe room. But,
You're the last person I think for that.
The world went fucking crazy, and I went along with it.
Yeah, but we did decide during COVID that we did have a very extensive spirit collection. And so we would start like at 10 or 11 o'clock. I would be drinking champagne, and he would be drinking on the Blue Label Scotch. And we thought,
we're going to go down, we'll go down in style.
We won't feel a thing.
Yeah. And then when our children came back, two were in boarding school and one was at uni in Adelaide. And when they came back home, we decided we needed to stop drinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a rough trot.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, we pushed through COVID.
We drank through COVID.
There was some good government funding to support the tourism industry. We got a grant to do a substantial refurb of part of the property. And then we'd worked out of COVID, and someone comes along and says, hey, we're interested in buying your property. And so my mind immediately went to, because I was burnt out, we're going to sell, we'll get a price that will be suitable to us, but we need to start planning what we do once we exit the business now, so that we're not standing still. We stand still, we go backwards, right?
Yeah. You're growing or you're dying.
Jamie goes into a flat spin, like, what the fuck? I've now got the job that I'm doing, plus I've got to prepare all the documentation so they can do due diligence, and then I've got to work through all the accounting stuff.
Joe, you've got a very strong accounting, mathematics. You're a bit of a whiz with this sort of stuff. I know we've spoken before, and you were kind of doing your accountant's job when I met you almost, or working with him even.
Yeah, I've always had like an interest in that side.
Right.
But yeah, the pressure of selling.
But that adds a whole nother level of not just doing the books, not just balancing actually prepping for sale, due diligence, audits.
And it was
that's its own thing that you usually hire a team for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it was a short time frame. If you put it into context from when
when they wanted to buy.
Yeah, so when they literally walked in, and 12 weeks later we left town.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a stickler for routine, regiment, don't like change. And so he's saying, we're selling, we're moving, your life that I know will never be the same. And so that...
We're going camping.
Pretty much. I know. So it was a huge, big change, and we couldn't afford to tell anyone, because if you have a business and your staff realise that you're selling it, creates uncertainty.
They freak out. They don't do their jobs, but they don't understand that usually that means life goes on. The new owners
Correct.
want everything the same.
So it was pretty stressful. So we did not tell a soul until 2 weeks before we left town.
Right.
And in a small town, we were on edge. Like anytime someone would say something, we would be like, because I'd go, do you know such and such is selling? Or I've heard.
You'll be next.
And we're like, no. And it was a really hard.
And then it had to be publicly listed on the liquor
The licensing change.
the change of license.
And we hadn't told anyone. And we're like, I hope no one looks at that site, because if they do, our cover's gone. How do we explain it?
So anyway, we snuck out of town and we moved to Adelaide. We had purchased a place in Adelaide about 12 months before. 18 months before, because we had our daughters were all in Adelaide, and so we relocated.
Okay.
And in fact, I was in Adelaide. We're up there during this sales process. We're up there, and because I'd started looking on social media and searching, okay, what opportunities are there for property investment? That was, like Jaime said, that was something that we were keen to do. I found this bloke called Graham who just seemed really genuine. Who
It's a bit of a fuckwit, actually.
he just, said it like it is, and that appealed to me. So I signed up for the Tuesday night thing, which was really fortunate because Jaime was out with one of the girls that night.
Okay.
So I'm at home and I'm just watching it on my phone at the kitchen bench by myself. Jaime comes home early and says, "What the fuck's this shit? What are you doing? Why aren't you doing whatever else that she wanted me to be doing that night?" I said, "Just shut up and listen.
Pretty much.
Okay.
This bloke's good. You'll like him. Just give him a chance. I know that you're not ready to listen to this sort of stuff yet, but just stick with it because he's telling the absolute truth. So just fucking listen to it."
Okay.
And this is back
And
when
then
you
slept
did
on the
them
couch
live,
that
right?
night.
No, I've slept on the couch a couple of times, but not that night. And so, anyway, Jaime watched sort of the last half of it, and then you had to sign up for the weekend masterclass off the back of that. And it was like, well, what have we got to lose? Let's do that. So that's how it happened.
So the numbers would make sense for you instead of any other nonsense or any flamboyance that come out.
Yep.
The numbers would make sense.
The numbers make sense, and when you draw your pictures, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I could understand it. I could kind of put it to our situation, and you just seem genuine.
Okay.
You are genuine. But I think that's what came across to me. Takes a lot for me to trust.
Yep.
I just felt comfortable.
Okay.
I think that's what made the decision easy. It did feel like we were back at school doing the masterclass.
Yep.
And I remember
Teachers don't yell at people as much.
I
but
know.
that's-
And we're just sitting there, and I remember we had a function on the Saturday night at we had to be downstairs by 5, and we're like, he's going to get really cross if we say we have to leave. So our middle daughter was home, and we said, Tully, you sit here and you listen, and if you need us, you call us, and one of us will come upstairs. I said, but you write notes.
Okay.
And so she honestly did. And
At how old?
she would have been 20, 19
Okay.
then, and she sat there and she was so excited by it as well. And this is the one who currently doesn't have property, but totally gets
On
it.
her way, yeah.
Yep. And it was funny because we actually did the masterclass on the weekend with our youngest daughter, and the middle one came back and she goes, I know all this. And I said, oh, okay. And she goes, but you and Dad will sit through it again when it's my turn. And I'm like, am I going to have 3 weekends or 4, including ours, where we have to sit there?
Apparently.
I think so. Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing, right?
It's not. It's
Could be a worse weekend.
correct.
Could be at the pub with them on a bender or anything.
And you always learn something, no matter how many
Pick up
times
something
you sit
new,
there.
right? Because I've seen you in the chat bar on the way. Oh, no, this is it.
Yeah.
Because I don't always know if somebody's coming back with family or friends or whatever, or a resit or whatever. But then I see names pop up and I'm like, oh, okay.
But all three daughters get it.
Yeah.
All at different stages.
Yep.
But they get it. And it's like, it was funny on Sunday when it was, do you want to sign up?
Yeah.
And so I had already in my head, our kids have never had a credit card or Afterpay, but they do have After Mum.
Yep. A custom.
They have
I like that.
They have After Mum,
After Mum.
and they'll come to me with what they think is necessary and then tell me how much they'll be able to afford to pay me back.
And you'll pay for it and they'll have an installment plan with you.
Yep. And they are awesome.
Right.
And I thought, the youngest one signing up for the weekend, she probably needs After Mum.
Okay.
So I was all prepared and we're sitting there and I'm like going, so about this, like, do you want to do it, Rory? And she goes, well, I've got the money. I just need to pay. And I'm like, oh, you don't need me?
Yeah. Feeling a bit of abandoned.
I know. I'm just like, and she was like, she's already sorted.
Right.
So, to me, I'm like, yep, she can see that investment is going to pay it forward.
That's cool.
So that was a really nice moment, thinking she didn't need me. She had already made that decision.
Yeah.
To have that money there.
Right. Very cool. Okay. So let's fast forward a little bit. So burnt out, world's ending, sky is falling, getting back to normality. Someone comes in with a checkbook at that point going, well, everyone's businesses are creamed. I can steal it for 10 cents on the dollar. But for you guys at that point, burnt out, it's like, fuck, give me 50 cents and I'll probably take it, to be honest, really.
No, we were really lucky.
Okay. Talk about that, because this is what I just said is the assumption for everybody, right?
The guy who initially we had a guy approach us and that didn't go anywhere. In that same time, we had a visit from an agent who would visit us once or twice a year just to keep a finger on the pulse. We said, well, Kelly, funny, perfect timing. We're going through this process. She said, well, if it doesn't come to anything, can you at least give me the opportunity? I've probably got someone on my books who would buy it. So the first process wound up. We spoke to her. We got the documents prepared. She sent them out. Within 3 days, we had 3 offers.
Wow.
Sight unseen.
Wow. It's a good agent.
And we were like,
the guy had put in the highest bid was the most interested. We had a conversation. She arranged for him to visit 4 days later. He drove down from Sydney and did a quick inspection, went home, revised his offer. We had agreed on a price and had a heads of agreement signed within 7 days, I think.
Wow. It's meant to be.
Yeah.
I was still freaking out.
So there was a little bit of give. But we're talking about hundreds of thousands, not millions, right?
Yeah.
So we
and this is for the freehold, everything, right?
The whole kit and caboodle. Yeah.
We kind of went through the process going, when you want to sell, there's not necessarily someone with that amount of money around. So
they don't come along every day.
No. So are we better to stick it out for another 3 years? And Stephen was burnt out. I was okay. But and we just said, he's here. Sometimes things are meant to be. And
a general warning for anybody listening, our agent wears socks.
Well, they're just a proper real estate agent. They're not a buyer's agent, right?
Yeah.
Because most of them don't wear socks. They're in the skinny jeans and the cool clothes, but I'm just jealous I can't fit in them. So tell me then, so business is sold. You'd happen to inadvertently buy a property 12 to 18 months earlier to be near the girls in Adelaide, uni, school, life, work, family, etc. So you've now got a property to move to because you're living in the motel, obviously.
Yep.
So you now got a property to move to, business is sold, you've got a bag full of cash, clear your debt, and similar time to when we're meeting, right?
Pretty much, yeah. So that happened, we left the business
mid-September.
Mid-September or end of September, moved to...
it was 23?
23,
yeah.
And I reckon we came up in November or December
for
2023.
Yeah.
For REM, and that
because I remember all the changes. He goes like, hey, we're going to do all these investment properties and do all this stuff. And I remember going, well, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
You've just sold your sole source of income, really, which is your business, and that's gone. What's your income?
Yeah.
How are we going to do all these properties?
So we wanted our cake and we wanted to eat it as well. We wanted everything.
Oh, no.
We don't ask for much.
We haven't undressed yet, but yeah, you didn't want much, did
Yeah.
you? And we achieved it.
Yeah.
We did. We have, and we're in a really good spot, and we're really fortunate in a lot of ways, and really grateful because our uneducated view was that we would lay down a significant deposit on a couple of properties, having them positively geared,
By dumping all the cash in.
to give us some sort of income, and any additional cash that we wanted to keep aside, we would put in, a fixed term deposit at 4 or 4.5% or whatever the fuck it is at the bank.
Doesn't sound very financially arousing at all.
No, and so I guess we knew that wasn't the answer, and we knew there must have been other better ways, but we didn't have the wherewithal to work that out, and we didn't have the team and the advice and the expertise around us, and that's what we were looking for. It's what we found.
But I think we'd used financial advisors in the past, but they actually never gave us
Any advice.
And if I look at them, like it was staring us in the face. They weren't living their dream. They weren't
growing wealth.
They were sitting behind a desk
In a suit.
and
Pretending.
And they're not people that you aspire to be like.
They're usually doing a little bit better or no better than you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's
But they got the ticket to say they can sell you something.
Yeah.
Whereas what we've found with Infinity is you'll give us some options. Ultimately, we can say no or we can say yes.
You decide.
But we feel like we've got some control. But the opportunities that we have in front of us, we never would have had doing it on our own. And we never would have had the last 18 months. We were reflecting yesterday saying, like, our lives have been crazy since we've been together.
Let's go back to give everyone some context because we know each other really well. So we can chat and we'll jump around. But to give context to the people tuning in at home, so we had a business. Just give a summary. Had a business, bought the leasehold motel, we're paying overs on rent, then bought the freehold, thankfully, after a rent reduction, which sort of evened out a bit. Now we own a motel, the whole building, the land, etc. Struggled through COVID, thought the world was ending, zombie apocalypse, drank through some of it, kids come and help. Fortunate enough.
They didn't come and help drink.
Oh, okay. No. Well, they're older now. No, you had to stop drinking.
We had to stop drinking and look responsible.
Adults. Yeah. Then sold the business, fortunately, the right deal, right time, good buyer, fair value exchange. Bought a home in Adelaide, moved into that. But then with the business sale, we were able to pay the home in Adelaide off. So great, we own our own home. We've also got some substantial capital, but what do we do with it? Is that probably a good helicopter view?
Absolutely.
Burnt out as all fucking hell. Been to hell and back. Burnt out. Which way's up? Cool, we've got a home with some debt and we've got a heap of money. What do we do? Is that a good sort of starting point?
Yep.
That was late 23, right? Early 24. Late 23.
Yep.
So we then went from that position with the home. We paid it off. Got how many new investment properties, do you remember? 4?
Yeah. One's in self-managed super fund.
So
yep.
3 personally.
Yep.
So 3 personally, plus the self-managed super fund with direct real estate in it, plus the family home. So 5 real estate assets, 1 in superannuation.
Yep.
Plus we put some money into a mortgage fund.
Yep.
Remember how much we put in that?
1.2.
You remember how much it's paying you each month while you sleep?
12%.
12% per annum.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And I will say that the first time we were nervous.
Okay.
We were in
Zimbabwe or
in Nairobi, and I was like, because we had like paid our deposits and
paid your debt.
Yep.
Bought all your investment properties. Yeah.
And we had money while we were away, but to us it was like our bucket list dream holiday. Let's
go and do it. But we
and
jumped
not
on
worry about
we jumped on the
money.
plane, knowing that all of our money and all of our deposits were paid. All our money was locked away, and the money coming out of Orashuri is cash flow, right? So we need that. We need that to drop. Otherwise, we're not fucking getting home. We're stuck in Africa.
I remember.
And we were I was like, it hasn't dropped yet. And it was still like 4 days before it was supposed to drop. But I think just the first time
Into your stomach, yeah.
is nervous, like, have we been scammed? Are we in trouble? Like,
Yeah.
it was a lot of money. And we knew that if we lost that, we still had a house, but we thought we'd do it. So we messaged one of the Infinity people while we were away, like going, just checking what date it drops. And he thought it was a scammer because it was coming from Nairobi. And
So now we think at our end, someone's contacting us from
Contacting, yes.
Nairobi
Still,
about money.
you know, the code on the
And
front
so-
of the phone number. On
so
his
then
phone.
Chad has messaged Stephen, are you in Nairobi at the moment?
Of all the places, it's a
And-
random place.
Of course, it dropped. Every month it drops. The day changes, but it's always in time. We've had no issues. And it's certainly,
So that's hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
And that's
Capital's preserved, but hundreds of thousands. So every month an income hits the bank account.
yeah.
yep.
So effectively, you guys don't have to work.
No, we could, well, yes, if we wanted to live a really thrifty life.
Yep.
Yep. We could.
Thrifty, okay.
Well,
Stephen's always wanted more.
yeah, I've always wanted more, but yeah, we could. But
hang on. Just to clarify, thrifty. Let's just do. So how much money do we put in?
It's about $144,000 a year, I think. Is that
One
right?
point-
1.2 times
Let's just do
12%.
$1.2 million to be times 12%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 144,000 divided. Yeah.
For not
It's $12,000
while we
$12,000 a
sleep.
month while you sleep.
While we sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good. It's good, but standing still is going backwards, right? And cash is trash, all of that. So and it's fantastic that it allowed us to just recover, I guess.
So it gave you time and space.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, travel the world and do all sorts of cool and have an income stream without working while you travelled, right?
Correct.
Exactly
Because
right.
I remember helping design it, going, well, listen, we've got all the property, we've got that could do more prop, but hey, we need an income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And rent alone isn't. People think, oh, if I buy half a dozen properties, I'll retire. Doesn't work like that,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
this was a structure to go. If you buy a property, most properties in a place like Sydney might be a 2.5-3% yield. Come to Queensland, Perth, Melbourne, they might be 5s, 4s, 6s, maybe.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, hang on, the maximum return we could find in the market for you was that 12%.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that made sense at the time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you travelled the world, and you were genuinely in Nairobi when you were.
We generally were in
We saw a bit of the world. We did the Outback trip.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Where
probably
Graham-
your first nude photo that you got from me.
Yeah. First new photo. This is the first new photo I said.
And I think Graham couldn't believe that I was sleeping in a $200 tent.
I absolutely didn't think that you would actually go camping. And I
Neither
remember,
did I. And this is what.
and no disrespect to people like camping.
No,
Beck and
neither
I
do
won't
I.
do camping. And I'm a
No.
housing commission keeper. Like these days, I value my time so much. I'm like, I'm just not doing it. Now, I did go to Uluru
Oh, okay. Yep.
with Beck in Feb for her birthday.
Yeah.
When we got there, they went, oh, we don't usually get Australians in February. It's pretty warm. And I'm just saying nothing because Beck was dying to go.
Yeah.
It was fucking hot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't think you would have been camping.
And neither would I. But Stephen has always been very accommodating to me in a lot of ways. And having 3 daughters, he's been extremely accommodating. Yeah, you have.
I know. I think I deserve a Nobel Prize or something.
And I always say Stephen looks homeless unless I say you really have to dress up. Like, he looks homeless generally. You don't.
Like me, you don't really care what anyone.
doesn't
You don't
care.
need to impress anyone.
And that's fine. And he just wanted to switch off from life,
Right.
not see anyone. And he said, let's do the Outback. And he
As
goes,
far away from people as
as
possible.
possible.
After a lifetime of dealing with people.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right.
And it was honestly, I didn't know how I would seriously go.
Yeah.
But it was literally a $200 tent that had been in the cupboard that we had never used. I think you got it for me for, I don't know, Mother's Day or something.
No, that was fishing rods and tackle box.
For Mother's Day.
I might have slept on the couch that night.
Was that for you or for
No,
Mother's
look, I'm a 5th generation fisherman. Right? I fished for 10 years in our family fishing business,
Right.
and people used to ask me, "Do you go fishing on the way? Do you like fishing?" Because we're lobster fishermen.
Right.
And I'd like, you fucking kidding? It's like asking a carpenter if he does woodwork on the weekend for a hobby. It's like no. But this was like we had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and Jamie was probably pregnant with our third. It's Mother's Day, and I've gone, hey, look, let's go fishing. Kids will catch their first fish. Jamie will catch first fish. It'll just be a fun time. It wasn't about the
Burley.
It wasn't about the burley or the fishing rod.
You're sleeping on the couch that night.
It was about the experience. I'm about experiences. Yeah. So you know, that was the Mother's Day gift. We're going to go and do a family thing together for Mother's Day.
In your brain.
In his brain, correct.
Yeah, it's and it wasn't gold or diamonds or I don't know.
But camping was the best.
Okay.
Absolutely. I would do it again. We met some of the most genuine, humble people, living extraordinary lives in harsh conditions.
Okay.
But yeah, we didn't eat out at all. We cooked entirely ourselves.
Wow.
I think we had one meal out. It's pretty basic.
Had a couple of nice meals on that station stay.
We did.
She was a good cook.
Yeah. But it was nice to, I don't know, our 3 KPIs when we were in business was all don't go broke, don't go mad, and don't get divorced.
Okay.
And that's a fire triangle, right? You know the whole fire triangle: fuel, oxygen, heat. You take one of them out, you can't have fire. Those 3 things. You take one of those out of the picture, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
We don't have a marriage. We don't have a life.
And so we lived, worked, and raised a family all in the same building. Yeah. 7 days a week. So not many people can do.
And anyone who's at home listening to this goes, yeah, we know that's batshit crazy. And like, if you're a small business owner in Australia, you've got more issues than Vogue. You're fucking crazy, right? Because and then put a marriage in between the small business with it, and then put a family. You start putting all of these dynamics. You're mental.
Yeah.
And kudos to you for all of you listening, because it's fucking hard.
It is.
And then people with jobs
and people think,
whinge and want business this.
I think you're at home rolling in the money.
Not doing the books at 10:45 p.m. and the kids are awake and this, and you can't pay that.
Yeah. They don't get it.
If it was easy, everyone would be fucking doing it.
Yeah. And I think that was, the amount of hours I actually can't. I don't know how we did it physically.
We're never off.
No, and I could never switch off.
Hence now I understand that, like me, if I was to do something tomorrow, if I was selling or something, I'd probably go out fucking bush as well, even though I think it's the last thing I do. I'd throw a phone in the fucking river and go, I'm going to disconnect for a week. Or maybe a month. I don't know. But I totally understand it. I just, at the time meeting you guys, I was like, this ain't going to work. But I'm so happy for you guys that it did.
Yeah. And it was a great time, and Africa was even better. And just having that 18 months together with no pressure, no time restraints, our whole life from 20 and what Stephen was doing, everything was time.
Because you're the youngest mayor ever?
Youngest mayor in South Australia, I think, at the time.
Right.
Whatever.
And how long did you do that for?
12 years. So I think
that's a whole nother spotlight on the family environment and pressures of what you can and can't say and do, and all. That's a whole nother pressure cooker.
Totally.
Yeah. And there's nothing like and just a lot of focus and scrutiny on you from a local community level. But I mean, I enjoyed it. It was good. It was an incredible privilege. Had so many really great experiences. Met a lot of people, became connected into just about everything that happened in town, and was able to support or contribute, and in other cases lead community initiatives. That was
the ship a bit.
So fulfilling.
Yeah.
Steering this, strategic. I love the strategic nature of council, the planning nature of it. I loved all of those processes, collaboration, meeting. Working through problem solving, that was all good. I'd struggled mostly on the civic side of things. You know, you host a lot of things, you've got to be really social, and it's not my nature. I'm the guy that's sitting quietly in the corner.
And I cancelled like 3 meetings this week in Melbourne just gone by, and people were mortified that I cancelled meetings with them. And I said to people, it must be a Melbourne thing. You all want to have lunch.
Yeah.
And you want to meet here. And I just want to meet you. We'll have a coffee or water.
Yeah.
You got 60 minutes for us to actually work out what we need to solve. Once we know how to diagnose, solve, all that, then we'll execute.
Yeah.
And I'm on to the next thing. But outside of when I'm in that moment, I'm not sitting there pondering 65 other things that are in your mind. Like I've moved on.
Yeah.
Like I struggle with that too. It's like,
Yeah.
let's just get it done.
Yeah. And I'd find that exhausting. But while you're talking, it just popped into my mind that so there's nothing quite like, at 8:30 sitting or 7:30 sitting having breakfast at your breakfast bench, and then you hear someone beeping the horn out the front, and it's the local radio station who've come to sing happy birthday to you in a live crossover.
Or when you have
on
your
Do you have
third-
clothes on? Do you have pants on?
Or when you
I
have your
think
third
I did that
baby.
day, but it was radio anyway.
Yeah.
Or when you have your third child and it's front page of the newspaper, it's
Yeah, it's a bit weird, right?
a bit cringy. But
And I don't think people, Beck and I have it as a different scale, not to the other, but it's like sometimes people feel like they own you
Yeah.
or they own access
To
to
you.
you.
Yeah.
And
or they
think-
know you when they don't really
Yeah,
know
yeah,
you.
they form an
right?
opinion of you.
I think one of our good family friends, I think Lily was in, maybe year 2 or something, and Stephen came. Were you at Motel? I can't remember the exact story, but they're going, oh, he's the mayor. And she's like, no, that's Uncle Steve.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
just
yeah,
no.
it's Uncle Steve. Yeah.
Kids know.
Human element, right?
But so, and we've had this conversation before. So, like, I'm not a big social media person, and I've sort of worked through that. I've healed a bit of that. But one place where I do feel entirely comfortable is within the Infinity Facebook group.
Right.
It's such a fantastic community.
Well, I was talking to someone else about this morning, that our biggest, best success is hidden.
Yeah.
Because you've got to be a paying community member. You've got to be approved. You've
Yeah.
got to follow the fucking process or I'll kick your ass and refund you
Yeah.
and get rid of you. And our best results are hidden. And you see 400, 500, 800 people comment on. So I'm probably one of the most active people in there
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Even this morning, a lady posted something and it wasn't a question. It was like, oh, and I'm like, just let it be. I went for breakfast. When I got in the car at the cafe and left,
Yeah.
and about 15 community members had responded in 30 minutes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like sometimes let the baker bake. Sometimes the baker can just monitor the
Yeah.
kitchen,
Yeah. Let the what is it? The dough will prove itself.
Yeah.
The baker doesn't have to put his hands on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good. But you're right. It's a pretty cool environment.
Yeah. It's supportive. It's positive. There's like-minded people with a common goal.
And they want you to succeed.
And we celebrate everybody's successes, no matter where they are on their pathway.
Could be $1, it could be $1 million.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And I think what you said resonates so much with Stephen and I, that your family want you to do well, but not better than them. And it's really sad, whereas we're hoping we're changing our family, because we keep telling our daughters, you're gonna surpass us. Like the knowledge you have, and the examples that we've set.
Yeah.
I can't wait till they're doing better than us.
Yeah.
Like,
You want that.
that would be the best. Like, I would have think I've done a good job if they've done that.
Okay, I was only saying to Beck, we're coming back from Melbourne, I said, I love that, like for Beck and I, it was the buck stops and starts with us. So like generationally, like not poverty, but housing commission. So like it starts and stops with Beck and G, right? So for us, like I was telling someone this morning again, we bought 4 properties last weekend. It was for Beck's niece, nephew, and her twin cousins.
Yeah.
Now, not for them, like with them, but we're on title for servicing. So we bought half, they bought half.
Yeah.
Right? But they've, and one of them, and he's not going to listen to this, thankfully, but he's like 13. He doesn't know we bought a villa for our niece. Like it's a house, its own little block, 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, everything. And then the one next to it in the estate, we bought in our family trust for him.
Yeah.
Oh.
He doesn't know because he'll think I've got to do nothing. And Becky James bought a house, right?
Yep.
We'll rent that out.
Mm-hmm.
But in 10 years' time, when he's 23, it's next to his sister.
Yeah.
And if he needs to sell it, it's all done.
Yeah.
And that's why I still do what I do. That fucking fuels me. You know, like I'm twisted. I think about if I die tomorrow, who's going to rock up to my funeral and what will they say? I'm fucked in the head. You know, like, it's a weird shit. So Steve will turn up naked and go, hey, yeah.
I'll make sure he does that just for you.
Yeah, thanks. You can walk up the front and go, right, CG.
Well, I actually misread an email from Mark the other day, and I was asking about payment of something, and he said, if his email said if Stephen gives me a drink at the next REM with his pants on, then it's free. I went to Stephen and said, you need to take your pants off at the next REM because I misread it.
Oh, Steve's like,
I thought
right.
I was my pants down drinking with Mark.
And he goes, yeah, okay, no worries, I can do that. And then I've gone back and read it and I'm like, no, pants on.
Pants on, pants on.
And I'm like, I think I'm just that used to
I tell you what, but it's kind of cool banter, like to have in the community, like your accountant actually who has a personality, like tell him to get his pants, you know, like it's quite fun.
Well,
it's
Rory
quirky.
It is.
was sitting on the weekend and she goes, is that my accountant? And I said, yeah, we swapped last year. That's your accountant. And she was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, yep, that's him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great. But in regard to like generational wealth, but I think as well, giving back and something that we did with our kids, which I think has installed really good habits into them. They used to have a money box from a really young age, and one box was spending, one was saving. So if you wanted a skateboard or you wanted a doll, one was giving, and one was wealthing. And
so
four. It had four
that.
boxes, and the wealthing one had a screw on it, so you couldn't get into it.
Right.
So we used to give the kids, I can't remember the exact amount, it might have been $5 back in the day, and I'd give it in coins and I'd say, I don't care how you distribute it, but you must put something in every box. The youngest one's currency used to be lollipops. So it would be, well, how many lollipops is this?
Yeah, okay.
But it really has taught them that you have to give back. And the other...
And that you have to plan for
wealthing,
Well, you need a spread.
Correct.
And it's interesting because the more you give, I find for me, karma, the more you give without any expectation. I mean, I do want them to come to my funeral, pants on or pants off, but it's optional. I mean, I won't be here, but like the more you give unconditionally and the quicker you learn and instill that and install it, and it becomes subconscious competence, the more you find you receive. It's fucking weird.
Unbelievable.
It's weird.
This is a couple of months ago, and I was just blown away. I'd gone to pick Stephen up from the airport. Our youngest one had gone off. She said she was going to McDonald's, and we got home and she wasn't home. And I'm like, where are you? What are you up to? And for some reason, I always think the worst. Lying in bed, an hour went past, an hour and a half, and I'm like, where could you be? Next minute, I get a text message, are you still up? You're not going to believe my night. I'm like, she had her sister's car, so I was like, great. Okay. Where's this going? And she came home and she said that she had gone to get a frozen Coke and then had gone down the local street at like 9 o'clock at night, and a homeless person had asked her for some food. And so rather than just getting...
money, asked for money.
No, she'd asked for food.
Sorry.
So Rory said, I'll take you to dinner.
Instead of money.
I'll take you to dinner, because they had asked, because we have always given, but we would go and get groceries or something. I'm
the same. I do quite a lot. You see it in the city and that, you know, hot pie, a coffee, some drink, and they're always super appreciative.
So she'd gone, taken them to Hot Pot, which was on the corner. She goes, it was $40 for their dinner, Mum. And I went, oh, that's so sweet. And she goes, she ordered crab, and I'm a vegan, and I had to break it because she didn't know how to break the crab. And I'm like, wow, that's really kind of you.
She did all right too. She's like, oh, this young girl, I'll have crab, I'll have lobster. Taking the piss a bit now, sweetheart.
And so, but while we were at home, I heard the roller door go up and down. I'm like, oh, what's that? And then when she's come home, she explained that the lady didn't have many clothes. So she came home, got our...
And how old's this daughter?
20. Got our old clothes that we were going to give to the salvos, and had gone and picked them up and taken them back to her. And I was like, what 20-year-olds do that?
Well, One.
Like, I thought that was just, I was so proud.
Pretty emotional.
Yeah, and then she rang the women's shelter and she goes, Mum, I rang the women's shelter and they were full. And I'm like, and she goes, I didn't even know where to find them. And I'm like going, 20-year-olds don't do that. But it did make me go, we have raised 3 very good human beings who understand that they do need to give back.
Yep. Very big one.
Yeah.
That's something as simple as those 4 money boxes has taught
And that's
that.
what I honestly, because...
That's the only thing you can relate it back. Oh, besides watching mum and dad.
Correct.
You
and
can't really pinpoint much else that would
I think
get
the
them to
money
that
boxes
point.
where they had to always give.
Well, it's not theirs. If you can instill that at a young age, it's like you've got to save. If you're not touching it, you don't need it.
Yeah.
It's been instilled in them.
Yeah.
Well done.
But I just thought those money boxes were...
I don't know about the ordering the crab thing. I think
I know. She was like...
But hey, good on her.
Correct. And she goes, the people in the shop were looking at me like I was weird. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, Roy. You knew that you were there for the right reasons.
Yeah.
That's all you've got to worry about.
Yeah, we'll show you FTP. Yeah, CDO or OCD.